Right now on Late News Tonight, protesters and troops from the California National Guard clashing in the streets of Los Angeles over recent immigration raids.
Get back! Get back!
President Trump making major moves to stomp out the protest. Governor Newsom calling it an abuse of power. Plus, a legal expert weighs in on Trump's authority to take over the National Guard.
It just turns California again into this sort of national, punching bag.
After another hot one, a slight cool down overnight, but tomorrow we're going to be hot again. Stay hydrated. The good news is cooler weather by midweek.
Plus, Stockton police are investigating a string of hate incidents just as Pride Month begins. The local LGBTQ+ community says it won't be silenced. Late News Tonight starts right now. We begin tonight with breaking news out of Southern California. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Becca Habegger in for Luke Clary tonight. A third night of unrest in Los Angeles. The National Guard is on the ground following days of immigration protests and escalating clashes with law enforcement. Take a live look here over downtown Los Angeles tonight, which continues to see protest activity. Earlier today, streets were lined with demonstrators, some still walking the street as we see a large law enforcement presence on the streets here attempting to take back control. Now take a look. Earlier, demonstrators confronted patrol vehicles and shut down stretches of the 101 freeway. Hundreds of National Guard troops joined LAPD and CHP officers in the city's downtown core. A protester was even seen hurling rocks. Others seen reportedly setting driverless vehicles on fire. Tonight, we're learning at least 3 LA police officers were mildly hurt. And this comes as President Trump deployed some 2,000 National Guard troops to California over the protests. Governor Newsom has been pushing back, calling the move, quote, purposefully inflammatory and warning it will only escalate tensions. Tonight, the governor saying, in part in a statement on X, local law enforcement didn't need help. Trump sent troops anyway to manufacture chaos and violence. Trump succeeded. Amid growing concern over the military presence, L.A. Mayor Karen Bass is speaking out.
I was hoping needs.
President Trump authorized the deployment of the National Guard without the governor's approval, declaring the protests a rebellion and warning more troops could follow if the violence continues. Tonight, Sacramento Mayor Kevin McCarty released this statement in response to the protest in L.A., saying in part, quote, the federal government's actions in Los Angeles are harmful and purposefully inflammatory, putting Californians in unnecessary danger. Sacramento has a long history of standing with immigrants and will continue to do so in this moment and those that follow. Meanwhile, we saw a local response to the protests happening in Los Angeles as immigrant advocates hold their own rallies and demonstrations. Organizations and labor unions now condemn President Trump's decision to send the National Guard to the city. ABC10's Roxanne Elias has the story. Organizations say they are united in their communities and families, and they are not going to stop organizing and supporting each other. Now, tomorrow, at least 2 other rallies are planned. Walkers will end their demonstration at the Capitol at 4:30 tomorrow, and another rally is planned at Cesar Chavez Plaza at 1 in the afternoon. And just in, Governor Newsom says he plans on suing the Trump administration over the president's deployment of the California National Guard. We spoke with a legal expert about Trump's authority to do so and how common it is for a president to do this. Jessica Levinson is a professor with Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. She says President Trump is invoking the Posse Comitatus Act through his authority under something known as Title 10 in deploying the California National Guard to assist federal law enforcement agents as they respond to Los Angeles area protests over federal immigration raids.
What President Trump has done by saying, I'm calling up the National Guard under Title 10, only gives the National Guard the power to act in a supporting role, essentially to help protect other federal agents or federal property.
Governor Newsom told MSNBC Sunday he plans on filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration on Monday, and his office referred ABC10 to this clip on X.
An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow.
Newsom referred to Trump's presidential memorandum issued Saturday directing the Secretary of Defense to coordinate with the governors of the states and the National Guard Bureau in identifying and ordering into federal service the appropriate members and units of the National Guard under this authority.
They had to coordinate with the governor. of the state. They never coordinate with the governor of the state.
Newsom on X has called Trump's decision to deploy the California National Guard purposefully inflammatory, urging protesters in Los Angeles to remain peaceful. Don't fall into the trap that extremists are hoping for.
It just turns California again into this sort of national, punching bag.
Local Democratic consultant Andrew Acosta says the Trump administration's actions amount to pouring gasoline on the fire.
They just have all the footage now of California out of control, and the governor's trying to write this in a way that ends with some sort of calmness, but it's going to be really hard for the governor to do that considering what's happening on the ground.
We need to focus on keeping people safe, making sure that police officers are allowed to do their jobs.
Local Republican strategist, veteran, and former congressional candidate Tamika Hamilton says she believes Trump's move is the right one.
No one's making protesters push back against police officers trying to make arrests and with lawful orders. No one's making anybody do these things. And so this is about accountability at the end of the day. And so we have to be honest about that.
Now, Professor Levinson says the last time the National Guard was deployed in Los Angeles was in 1992 amid the riots that broke out after 4 LAPD officers were acquitted in the beating of Rodney King. But that deployment came at the request of then Governor Pete Wilson. The last time a president sidestepped a governor in deploying the National Guard was in 1965 when President Lyndon B. Johnson did so to protect civil rights protesters in Alabama. Well, let's switch gears now to our weather as we take a live look over the Sierra along Highway 50, where we're monitoring stormy conditions this evening. With a full look at your weather, here's meteorologist Sean Stiles. Turning now to more of today's top stories. In Stockton, a series of targeted incidents against the LGBTQ+ community is under investigation as Pride Month kicks off. At least 3 reported acts of vandalism happened within 72 hours. Windows smashed, pride flags torn down or destroyed. Police are calling them hate incidents and are working to determine if they're connected. At one local wellness center, a rock was thrown through a window near a transgender flag.
I was just kind of like, wow, it's scary.
Despite the damage, the flag still hangs, and organizers say they'll keep celebrating Pride. The Wellness Center is now raising funds to replace the broken glass. Anyone with information is asked to contact Stockton Police. A jet ski explosion at Modesto Reservoir sent one person to the hospital this afternoon. Fire crews say the blast happened while the victim was trying to start the jet ski at the boat launch. The watercraft later caught fire and was towed to shore by sheriff's deputies and firefighters, and the cause is still under investigation. Coming up on Late News tonight at 11, the fate of Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill now lies with the Senate. Welcome back. Now to the latest in President Trump's second term. Tonight, pressure is mounting in the Senate over President Trump's so-called one big, beautiful bill as fractures emerge within the GOP and even among his biggest donors. The bill passed the House by just 1 vote and now faces resistance from Senate Republicans like Rand Paul of Kentucky, who say it still needs work. Fueling the political fire, tech billionaire Elon Musk, a longtime Trump backer, is now publicly opposing the bill. He has called it a, quote, disgusting abomination and hinted he may fund efforts to vote out Republicans who support it. Trump has reportedly warned Musk of, quote, serious consequences if he backs Democrats. And days after their high-profile fallout, White House officials say the two still haven't spoken. Meanwhile, President Trump's new travel ban went into effect just hours ago. The travel ban affects citizens from 19 countries, mostly in the Middle East and Africa. Partial restrictions impact Cuba, Venezuela, and other countries. People from those locations will not be able to come to the U.S. permanently or get student or tourist visas. President Trump says the list can be revised if countries make improvements, and more countries can be added if threats emerge. Coming up on Late News tonight at 11, Blue Diamond Growers announces the closure of its main plant. What's behind the company's decision and the warning from an industry expert. And buy now, pay later. The popular trend is making its way to the kitchen table. We have a closer look at this credit card alternative and the warnings from financial experts. A major economic shift is underway in Sacramento, one that's forcing a century-old company to make a tough call. Blue Diamond Growers plans to shut down its flagship processing plant by year's end, impacting nearly 600 workers. Company leaders say operating so close to neighborhoods and downtown has become inefficient and too expensive. Blue Diamond says it's offering severance, relocation help, and retention incentives, but experts warn this is a wake-up call for the region's economic future.
And that's not true anymore.
Blue Diamond says they'll consolidate operations into more modern facilities in Salida and Turlock. The company's headquarters and gift shop will remain in Sacramento. Check it out. More than 70 square miles of forest in Northern California have been returned to the Yurok tribe. It's being called the largest land-back conservation project in history. The land, along with the Klamath River, is part of a partnership with the Western Rivers Conservancy. It more than doubles the tribe's holdings in the region. It includes river tributaries, salmon habitats, and areas of cultural significance. The $56 million deal was funded through a mix of private and public sources, which will support long-term restoration. This week, for the first time, watercraft inspectors at Lake Tahoe detected highly invasive golden mussels. The discovery was made at the Alpine Meadows Inspection Station. It's the first interception of the species by Lake Tahoe inspectors since golden mussels were first detected in the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta in October. Now, a reminder, there are 30-day quarantine periods at some area lakes due to mussels. With a look at your weather, here's meteorologist Sean Stiles. This is a live look at the Rio Vista Bridge, which is set to reopen early tomorrow morning after undergoing repairs this weekend. They're all part of a more than $27 million bridge rehabilitation and replacement project. Caltrans is reminding drivers to slow down in construction zones. Well, now to your dollars and cents. New research shows more Americans are turning to buy now, pay later finance plans to pay for groceries. And more people are struggling to pay those loans back. ABC10's Laura Painter talks with an expert who says it's an alarming new trend, showing the lengths many families are willing to go to make ends meet. We have more stories like this where we talk with experts about the risks involved with buy now, pay later. You can find them at ABC10.com or on the free ABC10 Plus streaming app. And if you have any questions about money, you can email Laura. Her email is right there on the bottom of your screen, lpainter@abc10.com.
Thank you. You know, I have some questions about money. What can I do to become a billionaire? Y'all let me know. And whenever you win any kind of golf tournament, Becca, you always get a nice little bag of cash after it, or a purse, as they say. So maybe he'll bring that back home for his Del Oro peeps.
Maybe, yeah. He's not worrying about becoming a billionaire, right?
I'm still trying to get to a million, Becca.
Yeah, me too. We'll keep working on that.
All right.
Turning back to breaking news out of Los Angeles, this is a live look over downtown LA tonight, which continues to see protest activity. Protesters have been demonstrating since Friday against mass immigration raids across parts of the city, as we see a large law enforcement presence still on streets attempting to take back control. Count on ABC 10 News for future updates. And here's a look at your final weather. And before we go, the Gold Country Wildlife Rescue is giving us an update on an orphaned black bear cub once found nearly hairless and critically ill. They say he's now thriving at 80 pounds. After months of care, he's heading to his forever home at Sequoia Park Zoo in Eureka. He'll join other rescue bears, and he's been given a name chosen by the Bear River Band of the Ronerville Rancheria tribe.
That's a very good ending.
That is a very good ending. We'll see you later.